Hi guys, I'm so happy that everyone could join us. I'm so happy to be doing this CVPM veterinary panel discussion where we're going to be talking about what hospitals are currently struggling with today. And I'm so happy to be able to interview all these lovely ladies. And the trigger, the reason that I wanted to do this panel was to talk about, like I said, the struggles that we're having, but let everybody know, especially pet owners, that there's so much stuff happening in veterinary hospitals today that you may not be aware of. I know that in 2019, we had about 85 million pet owners. And over the past year and a half, we've had an increase of 3%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but actually it turns out to be about 2.5 million people adopting a pet. That's if they adopted one pet. A lot of them adopted more than one. So we have anywhere from 2.5 million to 5 million, maybe more, increase of pets. Unfortunately, our field has no way of keeping up with that. We did not have the capability to have more veterinary hospitals all of a sudden, and have more veterinarians and more veterinary professionals, and then add COVID to all the stuff we've been struggling with, all the requirements, hospitals, and everything that every area is dealing with. There has been just a huge increase in the need for veterinary care and a decrease in the ability of doing it. So that's why I invited these lovely ladies to talk to me. We're all certified veterinary practice managers, and we've all been in the fields for a long time. I think we have like 100+ years of experience between all of us. So I'm very happy to introduce everyone, and they're going to share their stories of what's going on with them. So first, I would like to have Chris introduce herself to the group.
Hi, I am Chris Cesena. I am a practice manager at Animal Eye Specialists in Campbell. So we are a ophthalmology only specialty clinic. Anything else did you want? Is that it?
Perfect. Thank you. All right, Joan, why don't you tell us about you?
Hey everybody, I'm Joan McCue. I am a practice management consultant based in South Carolina. Recent move for me. Previously, I managed a 4-doctor companion animal practice in Connecticut.
All right, Elaine.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elaine Myers. I'm the hospital administrator for a multi-location emergency only practices in Southern California.
Wonderful. And Rhonda.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rhonda Bell. I am the owner of Dog Days Consulting. We do social media management and brand management and reputation management.
She does a lot of different types of things.
Lots of management.
Yes, absolutely. Jessica.
So I'm Jessica Molina, and I'm the Director of Operations for Old Brown Dog Veterinary Partners, which is a family of hospitals, general practice in the New England area.
Wonderful. And Jamie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jamie Davis. I am a veterinary practice coach with Veterinary Growth Partners. So I help coach practices. I have about 50 hospitals that I'm coaching right now, and from all over. I am remotely located in Missouri, and I have practiced kind of all over, managing different practices, a lot of GP, and early on in my career, I did some specialty and work as well. So.
Awesome, thank you. And I realized I didn't introduce myself, but my name is Melissa Tompkins, and I managed hospitals previously for about 16 years, and now I own my own consulting business. So I help many hospitals with management struggles and things that they're having. So I'm very, very excited to connect with all of these other wonderful women. And one of the things I wanted to ask you guys is, what are you currently struggling with? Like Elaine, what are you currently struggling with at your hospital right now? What are your biggest struggles?
Where do I start, Mel? That's such an open-ended question.
I know it is. Give me 5.
Okay, well, we can start with today. So today we've had our first positive, COVID positive employee since December. So we're struggling a little bit with that. This employee was fully vaccinated, and he went out of town and he came back with it. So we're seeing it now in the vaccinated staff. So we're trying to deal with that. Here in Southern California, we've been allowed to be masks optional since June 15th if you're fully vaccinated, and so we allowed the staff that. And I'd say, I don't know, maybe 75% of the staff would wear masks just voluntarily. But today we went ahead and went back to mandatory masks just because of the increase in COVID. So that was a little bit of a disappointment today. I know some people were frustrated. The employees have been wearing masks for a long time, and it was a nice break since June to not have to wear them, but it's safer. But I mean, other than that, obviously we have case overload, just I think like everybody else, we have clients are quick to get angry because they're impatient. They don't understand what we're facing. So those are pretty difficult. I'm not sure what else. Where do you want me to go with this?
Well, what type of experiences are your team having with the clients?
I mean, it depends. Some of the clients are really nice. Most of the clients are really nice and understanding, especially when they've called around to other places and all the other places are closed. That's why we're seeing such a heavy caseload here in the ER, is because a lot of the daytime practices have limited their hours, limited their appointments. And so they can't get stuff that is sort of becoming the pet that's not quite feeling well can't get an appointment for a couple of weeks. So then it just gets worse and worse till they wind up in the ER, or even just little things that are painful, like ear infections, broken toenails, like those, those aren't life threatening, but they're painful and scary for the client. So, so most of them are okay, but the clients will call around, and if they can't get in somewhere, then, or if it's going to be a 5-hour wait somewhere else, then they're really kind and grateful. But if they don't have any background like that, and they're just used to showing up and having their pet seen, they show up and they just can't understand why it's taking so long, and while all the precautions are in place. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I can understand that. Chris, what type of experiences have you seen in Northern California in your area?
I would say our biggest struggle is we don't have enough appointment spaces. So before COVID, I had one doctor that was doing the work of 2 doctors and a resident, and I still was booked out a solid month. And we had a little more space. We could do some drop-offs and kind of, triage a little bit. I don't have that flexibility anymore. I mean, I'm at like 6 weeks. I'm booked out 6 weeks. I now, I still have a resident. I still have a doctor doing a 2-doctor load. I now have people who are tired. So I think I feel like we're in a marathon and we're on mile 28, and they keep moving the finish line, and saying just a little mile longer and just a while longer. And I don't know how many miles I have left. I don't know how many miles my staff has left. There is a little bright side. We did sponsor a resident not too long ago, and she is coming back in September. So there's a part of me that just needs to tell my doctor, hang in there a little while longer, because you're going to get some days off here soon.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably the biggest thing, is people call and they've been referred to a specialist because the referring doctor is saying, this is out of my purview. I need somebody who does this all the time. And then we have to tell them, I'm sorry, my first available appointment is at the end of September. And, people are home more, they're looking at their pets, they're seeing them in discomfort. And if they've called around, like Elaine said, then they're probably really understanding. And there's some people who aren't. And that's what's difficult, is when we feel that we are doing the best that we absolutely can. We really do care, and we're just almost not believed. We've had people who have yelled at us and told us all the things they have to do, and because we're trying to be good customer service, we can't tell them all the things that I have to do, or all the things in the back that need to get done. And we just kind of suck it up and say, I'm really sorry. Your pet's coming in today as a drop-off. I can't guarantee X, Y, and Z, and that it's going to fit into your schedule, and we will do our best. And, so I would probably say that's what we're struggling to.
Yeah, I can understand that. Jessica, what have you seen with your different hospitals? Are you having different problems at different hospitals up there, or are they similar?
Very, very similar. And for us, and I think so many hospitals out there, and I hear some underlying themes in Chris and Elaine's, kind of capturing of what their struggles are, but we have this underlying issue of staffing. I mean, staffing is a real struggle right now. The medical field in general, including veterinary, is becoming increasingly known through COVID as a profession with high caseloads, high client expectations, long hours at a fast pace, these emotional highs and lows, because we're seeing everything on a day-to-day basis, from sick all the way to those final moments. And, that's death, and that's really hard to, have these highs and lows. And then on top of that, the increased client dissatisfaction and the verbal lashings. And just as any other profession, we're already experiencing turnover and a decrease in applicants since COVID hit. Some of that started with concerns of exposure risks, and then, of course, childcare, education, and daycare settings changing the way they're operating, forcing parents to compromise employment over care, childcare. And then now we're seeing a lot of our own industry professionals looking for employment outside of direct clinic care. They're looking for telecommute positions, lab and pharmaceutical cells, or agent work with like a veterinary partner or one of our vendors. But the point is, anything that allows them to remain part of the industry, because these are veterinarians, technicians, and receptionists who love animal and animal health care, but they're looking for something that takes them away from the direct interaction with pet owners or patient care. And that's probably for any pet owners listening, kind of a bit of a slap in the face. It's so interesting. We have a lot more great clients than we do bad clients. Let me preface that. Not all clients are bad, but our relationship has changed. We want to interact with our clients, and we want to be there with them, because when the clients are in the hospital, bad clients are less apt to be loud or highly abusive, unless they're looking for an audience. But most of the time they don't, because that's embarrassing for them. So it minimizes those instances when, emotions are high, that a client's going to lash out at us. But even when it does happen, we used to be able to bounce back easier, because the next client would come in and we would be surrounded by them, and we would be engaged in small talk and doing what we do best, getting to know all of the family members, not just the pets. But now, like I said, with curbside, our interactions with clients feel more like transactions, unfortunately. We're out on the curb. Except for us, we're now back. We have our clinics open, but for this whole past year, we've been curbside. So we're out in the road, we're overwhelmed, and we're in the elements. And so we're just trying to interact with the client as quickly as possible, get the pet, get inside, get the work done, and move on, because the next person's waiting. So it feels really like a transaction.
A little bit, yeah.
Clients don't like that. Clients don't like that. We don't like that, but it's the reality. But now it is further compounded. Let me just highlight something to you guys that you don't realize. Our industry is about to be flipped upside down if we can't make a change. And what's going on is many of our professionals and applicants looking for employment or looking to move to a different clinic, they're not willing or interested in working during peak hours. And so you're probably saying, well, what are peak hours? Those are nights, weekends, Mondays and Fridays. Our current staff want to work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, daytime. Applicants, they're looking for part-time Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because the demand is not as high. Those are calmer days of the week, where clients are going to be less frustrated and inconvenienced by things like the increased wait time or appointment availability or our communication process or COVID protocols. And then we're also seeing less technicians moving through the technician programs in our community. COVID impacted the school involvement and participation, but it has also now impacted enrollment and graduation for some. So we're just not getting the production of technically skilled professionals. And then lastly, we're compounded by the fact that, like I said, the number of applicants is down, the qualifications are down, the ideal schedule isn't meeting our schedule, but then we have to drive our interview and hiring process around resiliency and high levels of emotional control, because that's what's crucial to success, and so many candidates do not have it. So, like I said, staffing is a real struggle at all of our hospitals, just like many of you guys's.
Yeah, definitely recruiting is such a huge challenge right now. Jamie, when you talk to as a coach, you're talking to all these managers, are you being told similar things? Are they experiencing the same kind of problems as Jessica talked about?
Yeah, I think seeing a lot of the same things. I mean, caseload is high everywhere. I'd say probably out of the practices that I speak to, there's everywhere booking out a week to 4 months for just wellness, and multiple weeks for surgeries, and just, yeah, caseload is far exceeding capacity right now. So that would be, I'd say, all the practices that I speak to right now are dealing with that struggle. I would say also that the recruiting, I'd say 90% of the practices that I talk to are recruiting. Out of that, probably 80% are looking for a DVM. And some of them have been trying for over a year to recruit their DVM staff. So it's been a long haul, and a lot of that not seeing much of a light at the end of the tunnel. So of course that's equating to a lot of these leaders, because they're everyone from practice managers to veterinary owners. And those veterinary owners, I mean, they're working all the shifts because they need to fill in that time. So seeing definitely a lot of that. I think a lot of what I see too is that there is good feedback from team that clients are appreciative, and especially those that have been long-term clients. But what it seems like is when you get the bad ones, they're epically bad. They're no longer just the mildly inconvenienced, frustrated clients. They become very retaliatory and, just downright nasty. In just really impactful ways to the team. So that's kind of what I've noticed has increased, is that, that severity of how they're behaving and how much that's impacting our team members. But I also see that those teams that were able to kind of pivot and reinvent the way that they did things are tending to do a little bit better in this process, because when they were faced with this challenge, curbside, just when they are able to embrace technology more fully, and I'm sure Rhonda could probably speak to that. A lot of what she's seeing is just embracing the technology side more. And, there's still practice owners out there who don't have websites and don't want to embrace that side of things. They're pretty much just like resistant. But I've seen a lot of the successes to be with those practices that have been able to say, okay, well, the way that we've always done it, because we've seen patients for, decades and decades very similarly. We're face to face with them in the rooms. And just like Jessica was saying, when you're interacting with people face to face, it's far different than talking with them on the telephone. You build so much more rapport with clients face to face in exam rooms. And we're kind of cheated out of that right now. So people aren't connecting with our teams in the same way. But again, we have different generations of pet owners now too. So that, that technical side, that, virtual care side is becoming a little bit easier, more embraced by those new pet owners. So we kind of had that on our side a little bit if we chose to take advantage of it. But still, there's no true exchange for that face-to-face. So I think that those practices that have been able to really kind of continue to tweak and pivot their methods of client communication, responsiveness to clients, really embracing those ways to do that are different than what we were used to, are the ones that have been a little bit more resilient, a little bit more successful. But again, that team is a huge limiting factor, right? Being able to attract people to our industry, especially when things are so hard. It's really hard to present this beautiful, rosy picture to applicants when you are doing your best just to keep your head above water.
Yeah.
So it's a much different platform than it used to be. So, but I still am reminding my practices all the time to focus in on what brought them to this, their core values, really connecting with the clients, embracing that, really finding other ways to connect with their clients in whatever method possible. Because a lot of practices don't want to do any type of marketing because they're scared to death that they're going to market to new clients and then they can't help them because they're turning them away. So they're worried about that instead of embracing the fact that our marketing is a way for us to continue to connect with the clients that we do have. So we can't just be resistant to doing any type of connection and marketing. We should actually be doing more marketing now than ever before because clients aren't connecting with us how they were always used to, walk in, pick up their dog food, call in, I need to pick up medications in 20 minutes. Okay, Sally, we'll have that ready for you at the front desk. I mean, we've conditioned our clients to be ready for that immediate, and we can't do that anymore. We don't have the bandwidth. We don't have the capacity to do that anymore. So we really need to start embracing other ways to connect and really enhance our marketing to our existing clients because they're not able to be there seeing what we're doing. So, pictures, social media, showing people all those things that we're still doing. We still love what we do. We still love their pets. We want to be connected to them. It's got to look a little different right now.
Yeah. I call it the touch points. You have multiple touch points when they come in, you greet the dog, you put the dog in the room. I mean, you have two or three or four people even engaging and loving on that animal. So I call it a touch point, and we're missing that in so many ways. And it's not our fault. It's just what happened. So you have to redo it in a different manner. And Kim, thank you so much for being able to come. Do you want to say real briefly who you are, where you come from? And then I'm going to ask Joan a couple questions.
Yes. Hi. Sorry I'm late. There's a little practice thing going on here. So I'm Kim Jacobs from Corinth, Texas. And thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Kim. Joan, so I wanted to ask you, listening to all these people struggling with different things, what are you seeing in your area that do you have any advice of things you've seen? Because I know Jamie mentioned a couple of things hospitals are reinventing themselves, and I do want to kind of hit on that a little bit later, but what are you seeing?
I'm seeing everything that everybody has mentioned so far. I mean, I think if I had to zero in on one key factor that repeats over and over amongst the clients I service, it's staffing. We all know that the applicant pool is very shallow right now. Starting to see a little glimmer of life coming back in, but I think long gone are the days where you'd post an ad for a CSR on a Friday afternoon, and by Monday you'd have 100 applicants. Now I think we're lucky if we see 10, and out of that 10, maybe we want to screen 4, and out of that 4, 2 will go to the interview, and then, the other 2 end up just not being viable candidates after all. So staffing is key. One other thing I noticed just personally this week, 2 practices that I happen to be connected to, ironically enough, my former practice in Connecticut and the practice that I use here in South Carolina as a client, both of them went back to full curbside as of Monday because of the rising COVID numbers. They had both been fully opened up, having clients back in the building. I actually got to meet my new vet face-to-face for the first time after a few months. And, now we're back to curbside again. So I think that's a trend that we're going to see all across the country. Another issue that I'm finding as well on the recruiting side is the vast majority of my clients are small, independently owned practices. And they are competing with the large corporations with the deeper pockets who can dangle large sign-on bonuses and, promise the world, especially to doctors. And that's tough. I had a practice owner practically in tears on the phone the other day. She's like, I need a doctor. And I said, I know you do, but there just aren't any. I think our field had a shortage of doctors even before COVID. And now I think it's gotten even worse. As y'all alluded to before, this client actually said to me, I can't believe that everybody's happy in their position and they don't want to make a change. And what I had to say to her is there are plenty of people who are making changes, but unfortunately they're making changes out of the field and not moving to other hospitals. And I think that's something we, as some of the movers and shakers in the field, need to figure out how to staunch that flow. Or as Jessica said, we're really going to be turned on end. I have several clients who have had to decrease their hours because of staffing. And I think it was Melissa, you who alluded to this too, that people, or just maybe, that people don't want to work those prime hours. I have one client who's down to seeing patients Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That's it. And she has staff come in for half days on Tuesdays to do cleaning and follow-up calls and that type of thing. Where I live, there is not a single veterinary practice open past 5 p.m. and the nearest ER is an hour away from me. So in the evening, if one of my pets sneezes, I'm like, are you okay? Are you all right? Do we have to get in the car? That's a long way to go if you've got a sick pet in the car. I don't want to be all gloom and doom and negative, however, because while a lot of my clients across the board, they say we're tired and people are being difficult, but you know what? They're hanging in there. They're getting it done. They're doing what they need to hang on. But like Chris said, it's the 28th mile of the marathon or the 12th month of pregnancy. I don't know how much longer they're going to be able to hang on.
Yeah, I think we need to maybe recognize that reality that we thought, I know here in California, we thought in June, oh yay, we opened up again. And then my county reset mid-July. So it's definitely that marathon that doesn't end. Kim, I'm going to do Kim and then Rhonda, I'll have you go to kind of wrap up with a lot of ideas for what you've seen to do well. But Kim, what are you seeing as your biggest struggle, and have you been able to do anything to work within that?
The biggest hurdle?
Yeah, your biggest hurdle that you've had, and you've been able to hurdle it.
We've been looking for a doctor for going on 11 months now, full-time DVM, going on 11 months. We're fortunate we are overstaffed with technicians. So fortunate I hired 2 thinking that we would have that DVM. So one of my bigger hurdles is now I'm overpaying in technician wages. So that's not good at this moment, but I really thought we'd find that DVM, and I had a great technician and I didn't want to pass her up. So, but same as everyone else, we need a DVM, a full-time DVM, and they're just not out there to be had. And, we've spent the money and we've placed the ads and we've hired the consultant and the headhunters, and they're not there. So the same thing. We've been a little bit fortunate. I have seen the posts and the things that the other managers have said about the clients and how ugly the clients have been. And we have our fair share of some of it, but we haven't gotten the ones quite as angry as what we've seen. We have fired 2 since COVID started. So I would consider that really, really, really fortunate. One of them came over the counter at one of our receptionists. He came through the locked door. So I think we've been really fortunate compared to a lot of clinics. I think, do we have a different clientele set? No, I don't think we do. I don't know what the difference is. I don't know why things are different here or what's going on differently. But maybe my receptionists are just taking it. I don't know. But when I ask them every day, how are clients today? How are things today? What's going on today? No, they were pretty good. We went back to masks, full masks for clinic clients and staff staff 2 weeks ago, clients last week. And they are telling me that clients are grumpy about that, but it's just the way it's going to be. They can be grumpy, but they say grumpy. They don't say they're mad. They don't say they're ugly. So I think we've been a little bit more fortunate than what I hear from others with clients. But kind of the same as everybody else. DVM shortage, that's our biggie.
Do you think I've noticed certain verbiages that are used by people when they're talking to a client, they can trigger the client to kind of get mad, or you can use a word that doesn't. Do you know if your receptionists have a better handle on maybe the word use?
I think so. And I would not accuse other clinics of using verbiage by any means. I would not do that. But
I don't think I'm not saying bad things. It's just better.
Right. Exactly. I will say that I've got 2 excellent receptionists that they came from other fields, and as soon as I talked to them, I just knew that they are I call them calmers. That's what they're really good at, is calming. And it's just it's a talent that I feel like certain people have. And I can do it. I can get somebody mad on the phone and you just calm them down. And my receptionists are both really gifted at that. And I think that has a lot to do with how an angry client turns into a not so angry client. It's just the way they're talked to. It's the way they're handled.
I think people don't realize the word require and it is our policy are basically like giving the middle finger to someone. So using other words instead of that can convey the same information, but not alienate someone right off the bat. So I'm wondering if yours are doing that maybe more, which is good. I'm glad that you're being a little bit.
Possibly. And that one client that we did have to let go, it started out as a complete misunderstanding. He was banging on the window and both of my CSRs were on the phone, and one of them held her finger up to say just a moment, and he accused her of pointing at him, and she wasn't. She was just simply, we were still curbside, and she was just simply saying just a moment. And man, oh man. So when she did open the door, he came tearing through the door, and he literally went over the counter and touched her. So that became a police phone call, and it got ugly.
Yeah. That's a no-no. So any pet owner watching, please don't attack the team members, because
I don't touch.
Yeah, no.
But I don't understand how, like, maybe in the past, if he had thought that somebody had pointed at him when he came in, like, hey, did you point at me? Like, maybe be a little irritated. Like, I don't know how we got to where people are just in an 11 all the time, instantly. How did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
How have we gone from just, how has society changed so much? Where did we go from somebody cut me off at the stoplight, so I'm angry, to somebody cut me off at the stop sign, now I'm going to pull my gun out at you? Society has changed immensely.
I think honestly, people are uncomfortable and tired. I go back to that, but I think this whole situation has made people uncomfortable. People do not like to be uncomfortable. So, being not knowing, first it was 2 weeks, everything was going to shut down, at least in California, for 2 weeks. And then it got pushed out to 4 weeks. And then, schools were shutting down. And so all that unknown makes people uncomfortable. And then we have vaccines and not everybody trusts the vaccines. And I really think it's a state of being uncomfortable. And when people don't know what to do with those uncomfortable feelings, that a lot of it you get lashed out at the person that's standing in front of you. And, new situations, I don't understand why when my staff asks, could you meet me at the door with your pet, or could you get your pet out of the car for me? There's some people that just have a real problem with that, and they want us to crawl through the cars. And my staff is looking at me saying, I don't have to crawl through a car, do I? Because that makes them uncomfortable. So I really think I go back to people. The world is uncomfortable right now, and they don't know what to do with those feelings, and not everybody has good ways of letting that out, or to say, or even identify, I am uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it's inconsistencies. Like you never know what the protocol, the process, the belief, the expectation, what hurdle, what challenge. Like normally you might encounter a frustration a day or a week with any just day-to-day activities. Now it's multiple frustrations, like I went to the post office the other day. I'm so used to, if you're vaccinated, you don't need to wear a mask. I didn't even throw one in my car. And I walked all the way up to the door after driving all the way to the post office and realized I don't have a freaking mask. And I had to drive all the way home, and I was very angry and I was very frustrated because it was a huge inconvenience, because again, like we hear all the time, everywhere else, like it's that constant comparison because of this ongoing inconsistency.
I agree. I also find myself becoming unreasonably angry, and I catch myself. I'm like, why am I so angry at that? It's just a mild inconvenience. So it's all of us, maybe.
Yeah. I want to have Rhonda answer because obviously you work with lots of hospitals, lots of businesses, not even just veterinary, what are you seeing as far as like those inconsistencies? What are people doing or not doing, or you're seeing all of it?
Yeah, that's a lot of what we are seeing in it. And it comes back to that reputation management that this is where I get brought into it, the social media side of it, from the communication breakdown. And so my clients immediately, social media used to be show us a cute puppy and it's like a photo album. That's how it was used for many, many years. Now it became, this is how we can talk to our clients. This is how we can communicate. So we immediately had to shift strategies. And in that strategy shift, you have these vets who are technology averse, or business owners who were technology averse, and they had a crash course in get over it. You have to do this. And those of us that are in this industry, we know how well received that kind of, ultimatum is for our doctors and for our owners and for our management teams, or even our teams in general. You tell me I have to change, I'm already going to not like you, but you force change down my throat. No way, I'm out. And so that's kind of what we're seeing is it's not that there's the shallow applicant pool, like Joan said, is a critical problem. The other half of that equation is it's not that we're even short staffed, it's the staff that we had left. They quit. So we don't even have what we had before, much less getting extra to take care of the extra pets. We lost the reserves we had. So we went into a deficit quickly with staffing and with team members. And it's not even just the doctors. I would dare say, and I don't have statistics to prove it, but I would dare say that the reception teams, the technical teams, the assistant teams, the kennel, the support teams that literally function and keep the hospital moving forward, they quit. They left because honestly, it's not worth their life to get COVID. They don't get paid enough to deal with that. Or you've got the other thing, which happened in some of our family members, is childcare changed their criteria and made it just impossible to work around the childcare constraints, or their prices went up, or the scheduling changed, or whatever. So you had all of these components go into play. We went into fatigue. We all have fatigue. We have emotional fatigue. We have traumatic fatigue. We have all of these things. So like Elaine said, I get mad at the drop of a hat. I do the same thing and I know what's causing it and I still do it. So when we are tired and fatigued and emotionally drained and just absolutely spread so thin, we're hair trigger just on a normal day, hair trigger. Let's go ahead and throw in a pandemic. Let's throw in other people being hair trigger. Let's throw in some toxicity from social media. Let's throw in some spouses who get sick, pass away, divorce, whatever the case may be. Let's add in some crappy communication too. Welcome to veterinary medicine. So this is what we have and what we're dealing with, and it's absolutely not the client's fault. 1000% not the client's fault. Without that client relationship, there is no veterinary medicine. We won't have the patients to care for that we love on. We won't have those client relationships that we absolutely adore. And that in most of our cases throughout our careers, I'm 17 years as well, we have clients that we still remember to this day. Maybe even some of them are friends. So we do want to nurture that relationship and continue that emotional bond. It is so spread thin and so strained. And I know the clients are feeling the same way about us because everything changed on them. And, like Jessica said, nobody has the rule book. We're just all playing this game that we don't know what the rules are. So we're making them up as we go. And I get to have my own set of rules. Elaine gets to have her own set of rules. And we're expecting everyone to know what those are. And don't bump your head against us because we're going to come down. So that's where that communication is broken down. I've had several practices with reputation management issues. One just recently. And I need to go back and check because I think the receptionist probably quit because she was verbally assaulted by a client who was just absolutely out of her mind. And I'm willing to bet that this client has probably never behaved in such a way in their entire lives, would never think to speak to someone like that, and assaulted her verbally, racially, just questioned her ethics, it was horrible. I don't want to get into too much detail because I don't want to identify anything, but this girl left thinking I'm worthless. I'm so stupid and I'm worthless. And, we deal with depression. We deal with suicidality. We deal with compassion fatigue. We deal with all those things, but so do our clients. The strain and stress that they're under just trying to survive right now. We're all in that same boat. So if we can find a way to come back together and get that relationship back on track, I think we can solve some of the problems within veterinary medicine and with that client relationship. And communication is always going to be that answer. And I love social media for that because I can help do that without having to have them curbside or without having to wear a mask or without having those barriers that you guys are dealing with and you don't know what's happening because you've got something covering your face. Social media, you don't have to cover your face. So you can be transparent. You can share what's going on in your practice. Elaine can tell people we're devastated, but we went back to masks. There are things you can do and you can respond to negative reviews. You can defend yourself. Just because someone writes a review or says something bad about you, that doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it real and it doesn't make it actionable. It really doesn't. And the same thing for the clients on the other side. I encourage them to open dialogue. If someone's mad at one of Joan's practices, don't keyboard Kevin them. Don't go after Google and Yelp and Facebook and just try to light them up and create this big, witch hunt on social media. Communicate, talk, and build that relationship and re-bridge that relationship.
Well, if there's something, I know that it's a little bit less than an hour for us right now talking. Is there anything that you guys, I know Jamie mentioned a few, not specifics, but like people changed gears and did something. Is there anything that you think could help this? Anything that you've done that afterwards was you had like a good results because you changed the system or something during this time period, whatever it was. Is there anything that you guys can think of that could be helpful to someone else, especially if someone's watching this and they want to get an idea. I don't want it to be all of us struggling, but what can we do to fix it? Whether it was your team compassion fatigue and burnout, that's so prominent. Like, is there anything that you guys have done differently to help with that? So whoever wants to share.
We, in the beginning, probably all of 2020, we haven't done it in 2021, but we shut down the clinic for a day, once a month, once every 6 weeks, and had a mental health day. We shut it down. Nobody stayed to answer the phones. Nobody came in to, fill scripts. It was, we are going to be closed today. I don't know that we told anybody why. Clients why, but we told staff why. And it was a paid day. I have a very generous practice owner, and it was a paid day, and she paid us. And I will tell you, I went home and sat down and watched TV all day long. I did not clean the house. I did not make my kid lunch, and she was homeschooling at the time. I sat down and watched the mindless of TV that you can watch. And a lot of staff came back and said, thank you. Thank you for valuing my mental health. Really it was. Thank you for valuing my mental health. A couple of people wanted to come in and work. Can I get this project done? I was like, no, we're all just taking off. Even the doctor, I told the doctor, you need a day off. And we shut down, and we came back the next day and picked up where we were. And that really helped. I think that helped a lot. And then the other thing we do is we use our social media more to communicate, hey, this is our new mask protocol. So we're kind of on a modified curbside. We have everyone wait in the car. And then after the exam, we invite one person in, one family member in and to talk to the doctor with a mask in the room. But we can get through the exam, and then people can get the FaceTime with the doctor, which I think has helped. People don't feel like they're missing something. And so the clients have said they like it, especially the ones who didn't get to see us all last year. So I think that has been the big thing we've done. I know even with this stuff rising in California, we didn't take away kind of the modified curbside. So we still kept with it, but everyone had to wear masks. And we can keep that distance in that conversation. When you can't do that in the exam, there's not enough space with the tech in there and everything. So the tech goes outside, and it's just the doctor and the pet and the client.
Yeah, and I think this speaks for a lot of clinics and several of my peers on here this evening is some of us, it used to be, the customer's always right, and go out of our way, multiple times in depth, trying to resolve customer complaints. But some people are just complainers. And like I said, now people are highly reactive, and we do provide, and we have throughout this whole COVID experience provided in-depth training on customer service, conflict resolution, difficult conversations, and they are better equipped to handle these times. However, at the end of the day, we are now putting our foot together, and we are strong as an industry about not accepting this irrational, unacceptable behavior from our clients. If they can't treat our staff with dignity and respect, then they're no longer welcome at our clinic. And we're really acting upon that versus continue with forgiveness and making ourselves so responsible when there are things, many of these situations are beyond our control. The unreasonable expectations, that is subjective. That is your personal stance, and you can't project that on us. So we have now decided that we don't have excess time to modify bad behavior. Point blank.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Kim.
I think following up on that, we're figuring out as an industry that we don't deserve to be walked all over. And clients are not necessarily indispensable. We don't have to take it anymore. I think that's kind of how I see the point that Jessica's making. And you treat us like crap, and we can, same as any other industry, we can find another client where that one came from, where in the past, the typical veterinary industry was, oh, wait, we can't afford to lose that client. We can't afford to lose that client. We can't afford to lose that client. Well, guess what? Yeah, we can. We can afford to lose that client. And I think it's pretty cool to see the veterinary industry grow some balls. That's what I'm getting out of it.
Yes, and I think losing so many team members that we've lost, and I feel like there's less team members than there are new clients, unfortunately. So if you're going to lose a team member who feels abused, I understand that trade-off.
Well, we're all quantifying, like, what exactly is the dollar amount that you're willing to put on abuse? Like, how much do you pay $1 for abuse? Are you willing to, or is that, the $800 spay or the $800 surgery? Is that the value of abuse? So as we've gone through this industry, we've now realized that there is no value to my colleague who killed themselves. We're protecting one another now, and we're no longer taking that because you spend your dollar here. I spend my dollar at Walmart, and they don't care that much about me. So, veterinary industry is now keeping pace with that. There is no dollar amount that we're willing to exchange for the abuse of our team members.
Yeah, and Rhonda, you brought up a good point earlier. Social media has become this great outlet for creating a pitchfork following, and painting your own picture and gathering this following. But newsflash, we're already short-staffed in the medical industry, human and animal. You guys have pets. You need, science says you need pets if you have them. If you're an animal lover and you're a pet person, you need that for emotional strength. You need that for overall health. And not to mention, they are no longer pets. They are family members, right? And so you need medical professionals to take care of these family members. And when you're creating this pitchfork following, you're not so much reducing our clients anymore. You're reducing our staff, which means this rise in veterinary care, this need in our community with a shortage of staff. It's not working anymore. You're actually creating a bigger problem and making it more difficult for you and your community to get the care for their pet or their family member that they need.
Yeah, I agree. And then how are they supposed to bring them in? Because there's nobody to service them. So yeah. Joan, did you have anything to add?
I just thought, talking about social media and sort of we're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. I've seen so many practices across several of the social media groups I frequent and on the message boards at BHMA. Practices are publishing these open letters to our clients, basically saying, if you can't treat us with that dignity and respect, then stay away. And good for you, because none of us deserve to be treated badly. I mean, anybody can understand that if their pet is sick or dying, or it's a hit by car situation and stress is running high and they can't come in. I mean, I think all of us can understand someone getting a little bit or even a lot angry in those situations. But when it becomes that personal attack, that's not okay, and that's not allowed. And I'm really pleased to see practices finally coming out from behind that customer is always right mantle to stick up for themselves and their staffs.
I agree. Jamie, did you have anything to add?
No, I mean, I think I just echo a lot of what was already said. I feel I'm kind of a, if you've watched Brene Brown stuff, I like to silver line it. So, I find myself silver lining pandemic all the time. And if anything positive has come out of this pandemic, it's made the veterinary industry put their, big girl and big boy pants on and start to really value our teams more, value ourselves more. I remember being in practice and always being so concerned about, losing clients and, the money, the client satisfaction, all those things had me railroading over what was really important. And it was taking care of the people that take care of the pets, right? So I am just excited for our industry and really feeling like there is this flip.
I think we've grown a lot in the past year as a field. Rhonda, did you have a tip you were gonna offer? We lost you, Jamie. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, no, I was just saying I'm seeing more of this positive flip in this positive workplace culture, this focus on well-being. I think it was starting, but this pandemic, so I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, me too.
I think veterinary medicine is actually finally, and again, my opinion, solely mine own, is finally getting a little emotional intelligence and enacting it. We've asked our teams of it, but I think as a consensus, we finally gelled or in the process of gelling. And so we're working towards that emotional intelligence. But I like to, when I do a talk or I work with a client, I like to leave a tangible or a tip or a tool. And Joan totally reminded me, so I give you credit for this, Joan. But you mentioned that open letter. And one of the things that we did a modified version of that, because some of the open letters, I'll admit, are a little aggressive. And so kind of picked that fight instead of stopping that fight. So we kind of did a counter with some of our clients and it was really well received. So I want to throw it out there to the veterinary practices. Go on camera. And I know it's weird and I know it's very uncomfortable for a lot of people, but do an impromptu, just record yourself on the camera in the practice. Let your clients know you're still there. Let them know what you can do, what you are doing, what you are facing, not the reasons why or clients did this, or, bridge that gap and give them that transparency. But more than anything, the biggest thing that I saw resonate, and I'm talking like resonate in analytics, I could literally see the post and see that people are looking at this, liking it and engaging with it, is we're still here. You can't see us, but we're here and we will stay here and we will stay with you, but we're here. And I want you to see me because you can't. So put your doctors on camera, put them on Facebook, put them on Instagram, let people know that you're still there mentally and emotionally, as well as physically. And it really did connect.
It's a good idea. Thank you, Rhonda.
Yeah, and a message to some clients who may be looking at this who are not in the field. I get to kind of sit in a unique spot now because I get to wear my client hat a lot of the times when I have to bring my pets in now, since I'm not working in a practice every day anymore. Ask them how they're doing. I did that the last time I was in. I said to the girls at the front desk while I was waiting for my dog to come back out, how you guys doing? Are people treating you okay? And they just opened up with this flood of, oh, thank you for asking. Yeah, it's been rough, but kind of what we're hearing, that the vast majority of people are okay, but it's those few negative ones who kind of overshadow the good ones, I think. But check in with them, check in with your veterinarian, check in with the receptionist. Take a few minutes to ask them how their day is going.
I think also too, just thank you. Just a thank you. Like I've gone and thanked the people at the grocery store, like, hey guys, thanks for working and all that. But I know the clients that have said thank you, either if it was just because they made a regular appointment or we squeezed them in or whatever it was. I mean, we have this one client through this whole entire thing has been, I'd say every 2 months brings us masks and goodies. And like the masks are for the season. So for Valentine's Day, she brought us Valentine's Day masks. I don't know that you need to do all that, but I can say when I get a phone call that says Mrs. So-and-so is outside and I walk out there and she's got this bag and she just says, thank you. Her dog has passed away. We don't see her pet anymore. She just thinks, she's like, I know you guys are going through a lot. Thank you. And she gives us these treats. And I tell you, you're like walking on cloud 9 for a solid day.
Mhm.
So a thank you goes a long way. Like I said, it doesn't always have to be big treats. That's just her way of showing it to us. But thank you is awesome.
I think that works for us as leaders too, to thank each other. Because I know we all work really hard to thank our teams. I personally know many of you have done wonderful things for your teams, but I think that we need to thank you sometimes, leaders, because we've been struggling. I've spoken many times when I've said, we didn't get a handbook with COVID. There was no, like, this is what you do. Like, I think Rhonda was mentioning that earlier. We didn't get that. So I'm not in practice every day like some of you are. And thank you guys for doing what you do. You should get a thank you. We need to be nice to each other, managers and coworkers, colleagues, everybody in this field needs to be nice to each other. I'm putting this on our compassion fatigue page, so I don't want it to be all management. I want it to be for everyone to try to get some kind of perspective that we're trying to figure out answers. We don't have them. We have some. I love some of the things you guys talked about. Thank you. Does anyone anything else to add?
Don't think so.
Oh, thanks for doing this.
Yeah,
Thanks for
no,
putting it
thank you,
together
and
and letting us
Thanks, guys.
discuss
I'm
it.
going to stop the recording, but I won't hang up the meeting just yet. So thank you guys. I'm going to go ahead and